Hello folks, it's time for one of those not controversial at all 40k rants. It is the final one of our three-part series, our trilogy. So here we are, the final video of that trilogy covering the state of the most controversial topics in our beloved hobby. We have covered why female custodians don't really matter. We have covered if you should ever pirate Warhammer at all, and now we are faced with the biggest challenge of them all. Should you ever gatekeep Warhammer 40,000 as a whole? Alright, if you like what I do, the subscribe button is down below. As always, we are barely 20 subs away from 20,000 subscribers. If you can help me get there, that would be amazing. And then we are halfway on our way to our 40k subscriber target. As you see at the start of every single video, 40k is the goal. If I can get there, that is a nice round number. That means a lot to me for obvious reasons. I'm actually sitting in my new office right now, which is pretty cool. I honestly never thought I'd get to the point where I've got my own recording office where I can sit down. Things are starting to coalesce into a few plans for the future about streaming and doing history videos on another channel, things like that. So things are going pretty well. Again, if you want to support me, you know what to do. My Warhammer army is behind me too, so it makes a big shot on the arm for me when I talk about this hobby and how much I love it so much. And instead of sitting in like a dingy office somewhere where I've got no back room, leg room, no nothing, I can now turn around and see my Warhammer there, looking at me going, please save the hobby. Well, let's have a go, shall we? As always, I think as per usual, it would be best if we first define what we're talking about. So let's define what gatekeeping actually is. And for that, I've got a few analogies that I thought of whilst in the shower. Because yes, I'm always thinking about the hobby and my videos. I can never get them out of my head, even when I'm in my quiet moments. So, if you want to know what gatekeeping is, at least to me, there are three main different types of gatekeeping that flow into different ways. There is skill-based gatekeeping, and that is I'd like to use an analogy about swimmers, alright? Let's say you're in a swimming group, and all of you guys are really good swimmers, and you're hoping to be on the Olympic team at some point. You're hoping to go off and do some swimming on your own at the Olympics or an international tournament or whatever. So you go and you rent out a swimming bath, like a pool at the swimming baths to do your training in. And one of your friends, because anyone can go in, one of your friends who isn't a swimmer says, hey guys, can I come swimming with you? I'd love to get fit. You would have to say, listen dude, I love you, you're great, but you might not want to come swimming with us because we swim at a very advanced level and you might get a heart attack. You know, you can't really be swimming with us. You don't have the skill level, right? That is skill-based gatekeeping. You are actually gatekeeping that person away from your group for their own good. Alright? So not all gatekeeping is absolutely nefarious and horrible, right? Religions are also, I'm sorry to say, a form of gatekeeping, apart from Christianity for some reason. But most Christianity anyway. But most of the time, most major religions, they gatekeep. They don't allow you in. You're on the outside. You're an infidel. You're not one of us, right? We are the chosen people, that kind of thing, right? I've come across that quite a lot with Judaism and stuff, right? Where, you know, they say, no, we are us and they are them, and that is how it is. And it can come round to bite them on the backside pretty hard when people tend to turn against overly religious people. But religions are gatekeepers. They gatekeep people away from their people and their religion. You're not one of us, you're one of them, right? And then there is the nefarious kind of gatekeeping. You know the ones I mean. The ones wearing the white robes and stuff, right? Yeah, those are also gatekeepers. You're not allowed to join their groups if you're of a certain race or gender or creed or whatever. You're not allowed to be here. You know what I'm talking about, right? Okay? So yes, there are different kinds of gatekeeping, and not all of them are positive. But let's put this out there first. My thoughts, right at the start of any essay that I do, any essay that you ever write, you should always put your answer to the question or prompt at the start of the essay. Then you explain your reasons, and then you reaffirm your answers at the end of the essay, right? So here's my answer to the question, should you ever gatekeep Warhammer? Yes. I think you should gatekeep the Warhammer hobby, or at least the group that you frequent yourself. There are times, however, when gatekeeping can go a bit far. And I split the rest of this video into two main sections of why you shouldn't gatekeep and why you should gatekeep. Alright? So, when shouldn't you gatekeep? When should you take your foot off the gas when it comes to gatekeeping and not gatekeep? Just say, look, you know what? Everybody's welcome here. Let's have a little look at what's going on, right? When you shouldn't gatekeep. You know who I mean. When I come to this kind of thing, you know who I mean. If you think it's alright to gatekeep people out of this wonderful hobby because they have a different colour skin, a different religion, sexual orientation or worldview than you, then you are a bit of a moron who does not deserve the hobby. You are the reason the average hobbyist like myself and many of the people watching this video have to fight so hard to not only gatekeep the idiots away from your hobby, but to rehabilitate both its and our own image after the tarring you give it with your nonsense behaviour. And you listening to this video, before you rend your garments and tell me these people are not in the hobby, they are. Okay? Ask anybody who has worked within the hobby in a customer-facing environment, and they will regale you with tales of several of these individuals wandering into stores and making veiled racist comments and sexist mantras because they can't get laid, right? It's happened in my own Discord server, and has been quashed whenever it's reared its ugly head. If you create a space in this hobby for people to come, right, these mouth-breathing morons will turn up. I will also tell you this, and this will not be popular with many of you, okay? In my experience, there are far more morons of this type in the hobby than there are wokeists and leftists in the hobby. Far more. Far more. I don't care how big Sig Marxism gets on Reddit, right? There are far more people of this type. Why? Because I come across them normally in the wild. And normally I don't come across the other type. I don't come across the rampant lefties. I don't come across the identity politics police. I don't really come across them, right? Maybe once every couple of years I'll see one and it'll be my hobby nightmare. Oh my god, right? But I see people like this all the time. Toxic gatekeepers. I see them all the time. Okay? I can only... Your eyes don't lie to you, son. I can only tell you what I see and what I come across. And I bet everybody, or most people in that comment section will say the same. Yeah, these people are a lot more prevalent. Why? Because they've had decades to germinate here, under the surface. We've ignored them for too long, right? They also seem to think, these people, that because woke people are now a thing that everybody hates, and we do, they're annoying, that they can pull their pimpled heads above the parapet and spout off innate drivel. Well, you can't, alright? Normal hobby bros, the 99%ers like me, will slap you back down again because this hobby is not yours and it never was. It was always ours. We built this shit. We built this place where you can shelter, but we didn't build it so you could just, you know, make these comments that make us all look bad. You make gatekeeping an essential practice to keep this hobby healthy, next to impossible with your idiot takes. Remain in your basement, please. Alright, that is when you shouldn't gatekeep. I shouldn't need to say it, but apparently I do, right? Do not gatekeep people from this hobby. Sorry, that's my... I'm on a new PC, guys, so that's why the things are coming through. You shouldn't gatekeep somebody because of their religion, their sexual orientation, their race, their gender, whatever. No. That is not a reason to gatekeep somebody from this hobby, right? I've said it, it's out, it's there. You need to say that in these videos to make sure people know where you're coming from, because the rest of this video might be a bit controversial in what I'm about to say, alright? So, that's when you shouldn't gatekeep. But when should you gatekeep? When is it absolutely right up your alley to go and gatekeep somebody, right? To keep somebody away from your hobby. I would also, as one more point towards when you shouldn't gatekeep, if somebody's coming into the hobby, right? This is something that is a bit less severe, but it's something that I have noticed. Mainly in Horus Heresy groups, it's weird. Because I love Horus Heresy. But when somebody comes into your hobby group who maybe doesn't have the same skill set as you, unlike other things like sport where they could get hurt being with you and your team, they're not going to get hurt in the hobby. They're just going to learn more skills. So I don't really think it's appropriate to gatekeep people away from your group for a low skill level if they're willing to learn. If somebody comes to your group as a Horus Heresy player or as a group of tournament players and they say, look, I really want to get better at this game, can I learn with you? Yes, you should absolutely not gatekeep that person. Bring them in, absolutely. But the minute they don't want to be told anything, the minute they don't want to learn, then you gatekeep. You say, look, you're not supposed to be here in a tournament list with tournament people if you don't want to learn how the rules work. I'm going to gatekeep you away from this because you shouldn't be here. That's fine. Alright, that is skill-based gatekeeping. That is fine to do, just so long as you keep it nice and healthy, right? If someone's willing to learn, then they should come in and be welcomed. If they're not, and they're quite comfortable being terrible at the game and terrible at painting, they probably shouldn't be in your skill-based group, right? Right, okay. So when should you gatekeep? Having said all that, we don't want politics in the hobby. At least not real-life politics anyway. In-game politics, like the Imperium stuff, fine. You know, it's fictional. But if you want an A1 example of what gatekeeping properly looks like, when you do it actually properly, let's take a gander at what the team at Helldivers 2 are doing. They ban all sides of politics debates, as they don't want that bullshit infecting their game space. Their hard line has given the community there a sense of pride and brotherhood through the game that I don't think I've come across in decades. It matters not who you are in real life. If you are stomping bugs and tearing the oil from automatons, you are a brother in arms to the other Helldivers in that community. This is the kind of attitude we need here in Warhammer 40,000 as a hobby. And it was achieved over there through good gameplay and, more importantly, good gatekeeping. Gatekeeping the nonsense of the real world away from what is, in essence, a game about shooting monsters with your friends, old and new. Let me take a sip of tea here before I continue. Oh, lovely Yorkshire tea. Right. When somebody enters into your hobby space or group who does not share the love of Warhammer 40,000 for what it is at its core, it's time to gatekeep. Warhammer 40,000 is a vile setting of, frankly, all empires within it existing somewhere on the spectrum of evil. There is no room for sentiment or equality. We are trying to survive here. Injecting things like that into Warhammer 40,000 is warping it from being Warhammer 40,000 at all. This is a point that I've made about Dragon Age quite a lot. Bang! Segue, Dragon Age, yeah? I've said this before in really old videos, but an analogy I like to use on what I mean by preserve the evil of 40k, because that's what it is the Qunari in Dragon Age. The Qunari in Dragon Age Origins are a xenophobic, sexist, rampantly conservative whole. They are an empire of people of drones, essentially, all fighting for the glory of their country in very specific roles that they are not allowed to leave. But they're all kind of happy. It's weird, you know. It's very, very, very strange. But you know, you're thinking to yourself, maybe they're just happy because they don't know freedom like we do, and that might be right, because the game doesn't give you any answers. It gives you all of the interesting parts to its lore and says, you make up the answers. What do you think? And through a main character in that party, in your Dragon Age party called Sten, who is a member of the Qunari, right? you get to experience this really xenophobic and, quite frankly, evil regime on the other side of the world, because he's come over to your side of the world and he's now joined your party, right? The really cool thing about that writing is you get to explore a mindset that is so alien to you, but you can do it in a nice, safe space playing your video game. And what's even better than that is that if you are a woman, main character, Sten will say to you, listen, you shouldn't be fighting. You're a woman, right? You should be a shopkeeper or a priestess. That's what you should be. Or a baby making machine. That's what you should be. In the Qun, in my religion, that's what you should be. That's the natural order of things. And he doesn't get it. He doesn't get why you're fighting, or why you can wield a sword. Until towards the end of the game, well, throughout the game he starts to warm to you, and starts treating you like a little sister almost, you know what I mean? Or a surrogate daughter almost. And by the end of the game, he respects you so much that he wants to take you, if you will come with him at the end of the game, to his homeland, to show people what a badass you are, and that people can, women can be warriors. This is cool, this is awesome, right? You change his mind through your deeds and your actions. That's epic storytelling. Epic storytelling. Because we're able to look at something that's evil, that's alien to us, and understand it, and in a way that we do that, we understand why we're different, and why we don't think that way. Okay? That's what's so powerful about that kind of storytelling. And today's writers would never write it. Ever. Do you know why? Because the Qunari, in recent Dragon Age games, have been neutered. They are no longer a regime like that. In fact, they're very welcoming of trans people. And everybody is okay in Qunari lands. We don't care who you are. You don't have roles. You can do whatever you want. We are... And they just literally neutered the entire thing and made it a complete hogwash because they're so afraid of offending people that they cut the balls off of the most interesting race and the most interesting culture in their setting, okay? That there are still roles within the queue, and I don't want us to get into a Dragon Age thing, but there are still roles within it. It still resembles what it was in Dragon Age Origins, but it's had its balls taken away. It's had its edge taken away. It is just, we're at the point now where one of the prominent Qunari characters in Dragon Age 3 actively shouts at you for misgendering somebody. Yeah, that's where we are, okay? That's what happens when you don't gatekeep properly. Alright? If somebody enters into the hobby wishing to turn Warhammer 40,000 away from being grimdark in tone, then that person needs to be kept far away from the hobby as humanly possible. It's your duty to do so, alright? Or we'll end up with another Dragon Age situation, and nobody wants that. Do not be afraid to tell such people that their views are respected, but not welcome in the hobby. Their political identity, sexual orientation, or anything like that bears no value in the hobby to you, beyond us knowing who they are as people outside of it for when we go for a pint with them. Alright? As a gatekeeper, lay out your expectations very clearly. And I have 3 different sections that I want to talk about, alright? Things that you should ask, or get to the bottom of, in your own head, before talking to other people in the hobby, and maybe gatekeeping them away if they don't share your values. Once you answer these questions, right, if other people don't share similar or the same answers, maybe you shouldn't be in the hobby together, alright? Number 1. What is the skill level of your group in gaming and painting? That's pretty self-explanatory, right? Think about your gaming and painting group and what values you hold dear. Are you tournament gamers? Are you Golden Demon level painters? Are you people who want to get better at painting and take it quite seriously? Are you people who, that kind of a thing? Think about those kind of things. What's valuable to you and your hobby group? Number 2, is your group a more serious lore discussion group or a group all about the memes? This may not seem like a big deal, but it is. Okay? There is so much aggravation and arguments that go on when you don't know which one of these two your group is. And so people from different parts of the hobby coalesce. The mean people annoy the law people, right? That's generally how it goes. And we get into that kind of a discussion, right? All right. Number 3. Lay out the core tenets of 40k. It is a grim, dark setting, right? It is in the Helldiver spirit of brotherhood through stomping the hell out of big things and seeing them explode on the tabletop. It has lore that stretches back decades that should be respected and revered. If any additions are made, they must be in light of the previous work done by giants of our hobby, in terms of the old writers and writers who've come after them, right? Right. Once you've laid out those 3 things, you now know where you stand in the hobby. Okay? The second one there is more of a flexible point. Do you know what I mean? Because you might be a 40k person who likes a meme every now and again, but is really into lore, right? Quite flexible. The other 2, number 1 and number 3, what is the skill level of your group in gaming and painting, and the tenets of 40k, those are sacrosanct to you. If you're not having a good time in 40k, maybe gatekeep yourself. I'm serious. If you're looking around your group going, at least 2 of the answers to that question, I'm the opposite of most people in this group, then gatekeep yourself. Leave. Leave and go and find something where you fit in. That's why gatekeeping is ultimately healthy. It's a good thing for a hobby to have at all times. Sometimes you need to just gatekeep yourself and walk away and go find your people. I say it all the time on the channel. 90% of this hobby is finding the people to do the hobby with. Once these 3 core parts are put in place, you now have done your part. If you've explained them to somebody who's wanting to join your group, the individual can now fit into this criteria, which in itself is a very loose criteria, or they can find themselves another hobby or hobby space. Again, you don't need to treat this like an interview for a job or anything like that. Simply make sure, through your actions and answers to questions from new people, that they understand the answers to the 3 prompts. If you lay those out in a friendly and welcoming manner without budging on your standards, you are a positive gatekeeper. Alright? Be very friendly, be very opening and welcoming, but make sure that the standards are very, very, very clear. Right? That's positive gatekeeping, and you should continue doing it. As a positive gatekeeper, you welcome everyone into your hobby. You hold all of those people to the standards of the hobby and what you and your group holds dear. If somebody is willing to play ball with those standards, then it does not matter to you who they are outside of the hobby. They are welcome to game and paint and discuss the hobby with you. That is positive gatekeeping. Positive gatekeeping. If you want to abide by our standards and you like what we like, welcome. Welcome. But I'm gay. I don't care. But I'm black. I don't care. But I'm Muslim. I don't care. I don't care. That has nothing to do with the hobby. I don't care. I literally couldn't care less. Right? Couldn't care less. You know? I've had messages from people. I'm not kidding. I've had emails from people asking, because they're Muslim, if they should join the Discord. Because of what's going on in the Middle East. Because of my own religious background, right? I'm like, dude, that's got nothing to do with it. It's got nothing to do. Welcome, mate. If you like 40k and you abide by the rules of our server, dude, welcome. Come on in. It's got nothing to do with that. Okay? Now, if you come in as a bad actor who's going to spout political propaganda and shit, yeah, you'll be gatekept the hell out of my Discord server, because you shouldn't be doing that there. But if you love the hobby and you want to talk to other people who are in the hobby and just have some fun, dude, welcome. I couldn't give less of a shit about where you come from. Right? The hobby is for everybody. In you come. The hobby is for everybody, apart from people who don't like the hobby. That's who it's for. Warhammer 40,000 is for everybody, unless you don't like Warhammer 40,000, then it's not for you. The problem is forced inclusion includes a lot of people who don't like Warhammer 40,000, and they want to change it to suit themselves, and that's fucking wrong. It's wrong. At its base level, it's wrong. We built this fucking house, alright? We built this house, we built this place for you to come and blow shit up and have fun in. And it'll remain that way. Even if Games Workshop wants to walk away and betray us. A betrayal, sir. A betrayal. That's what it is. If they want to come in and betray us and say, look, everybody's welcome, doesn't matter what it is, everybody's welcome. No, they're not. Right? If you don't like Warhammer, you shouldn't be here. I respect you doing whatever you want to do in life. But if you don't like Warhammer 40k, you shouldn't be here. That is what it is. Aside from... And the fact that we are painted all of the time. Us as guys and girls, we are painted. Or if we say to you, you need to like what Warhammer is, or you shouldn't be here, we're called ists and phobes and all sorts. No, it's got nothing to do with it. It has nothing to do with it. If you like Warhammer 40k, you like blowing shit up, you like the grim dark future, you're welcome here, dude. You're welcome here with us. Sit around the fire, let's paint some models, right? But if you don't like 40k, then respectfully, no problem with that, sir. Leave, go somewhere else. But Games Workshop said I can be here. I know what they fucking said, and they're wrong, alright? If you don't like 40k, you shouldn't be here. Piss off, go somewhere else. Go play Call of Duty, alright? Fuck off. Alright. That's my rant over and done with. And that is the end of the trilogy, alright? You can come out from under your battening down the hatches now. That's the end of the trilogy. I've spoken about some controversial things I've been asked to speak about. And there we are. I'll be back tomorrow with some hobby nightmares. It is a really fun one tomorrow where we see a hobby wife accidentally poison her hobby husband. And it is very, very, very funny. So I will speak to you tomorrow. Have a wonderful rest of your day, guys. And I'll see you then. Have a good one. Bye now.